Now, over time, once I started to actually let myself go there and not worry that anything was around, and it's probably my fifth breathwork session where I actually got into a rhythm where I had some of the biggest breakthroughs I've ever had in my life till today. Now, let's just put it this way. Then I realized that breath is something that we all have access to, and which could mean it's the most meaningful and powerful thing that we could get involved with. So I decided that I actually want to get more serious about it. And it's about a month before my mother passed away, and I reached out to a guy in the States who I was just like, I searched best breathwork teachers in the world. Like, you search on Google. And I found this guy, and I found his school. His name was Dan Brulé, and he's trained with all the greats and, gone to every place in the world and been breathing for today 53 years. And I just reached out and left a message, and then my mother passed away. And a week after, he called me up himself, and I was like, "What? This guy's calling me up?" I couldn't believe it. And me and a bunch of crazy friends decided that we're going to bring this guy into Toronto, which we did for the first time. And we started really training in breathwork. And what he taught me was, first of all, when my mother passed away, and then I'm now learning and remember, I had done hundreds of breathwork sessions before that in the 6 years that we were doing breathwork. But this, now I want to get trained. Finally, when I felt I lost my mother, my breath, a part of my breath was taken away because I watched my mother take her last breath. I needed to learn, and I was ready to learn how to have a relationship with my breath again. And that's why Hashem orchestrated that he should call me the week after. I literally finished Shiva, I walk outside, I get a phone call, and boom, it's him. And it was showing me I was ready. So one of the most fundamental things he taught me that you're not going to learn from most breathwork teachers is breathwork is really about, the art of breathwork is really about having a relationship with your breath, you personally. It's not do this method and then you will accomplish such, because some people hit certain practices and it works for them and you got to find your own breathing practice. But learn to have a relationship with your breath, because if you could understand your breath, you could understand yourself. Because breath is always going to slow things down and focus you inwards. In fact, the moment that you're breathing, the moment that you start breathing consciously, you become aware of yourself. You become aware of your breath. That's the first step. Most people don't breathe consciously because the respiratory system also works unconsciously. So it happens by itself. It's automatic. I think all healing, and excuse me for saying that word because it's a buzzword. It's used all the time these days. All of it starts with getting your breath back. Because one of the greatest traumas of the Jewish people, and we all know it, and we all talk about it every single year, is the slavery in Egypt. And the classic example is that when Moshe comes to Pare and he says to him, "Hey, I want you to let my people go," so what does he respond? His response, or his reaction, I should say, is taking the free choice away from these people. How does he do it? He doubles their workload. And when you double someone's workload, physically, emotionally, time management wise, well, what happens is you have less time to breathe, less time to think even, because you're enslaved in a certain mode of existence. So it says, "Makoitzer ruachum avoda kasha." They lost their breath because of the hard work, because of the stress. Most people cannot even think about working on themselves because they're so stressed, which is the last and final category. They can't even imagine a life outside of how they've been living it. It's so familiar. It's so supposed to be this way because, as I said, that's a trauma that we're connected to, because when the Jews left Egypt, Egypt never left them. And that's why every single day we mention that God took us out of Egypt. Every single day we have to do that twice a day minimum. We say it in our Kiddush on Friday nights. We're constantly connected to that idea because it's a timeless message. It's telling you that you're going to have to go, and this is what Rabbi Nachman and the Balatanya say. The Alter Rebbe says, "B'chol dor v'dor, b'chol yoim v'yoim." Every single day you got to come out of Egypt. That means every single day you're going to face things that are going to limit you and constrict you, and make you feel like you can't breathe, and you're going to be responsible to get your breath back, because that's when you're conscious and aware of what gave you the breath to begin with. When you're saying, I'm going back to the basics or make my life more simple, we have made our lives way more convenient today. Today, you don't have to get up from your couch. You can get an Uber to your house or whatever you like. You literally don't have to even work to make a meal for yourself. Do any of those things that could be something so simple. We don't want to do it. With breath, if I want to go to a simple life, I have to go to my most basic necessities for life. When we connect to our breath, we connect to the things also that mean the most to us. When I'm distracted and scrolling, I'm not breathing consciously. There's no chance. I'm not like while I'm scrolling. You're just not. So it brings us back by regulating our nervous systems, because when do we go for those things and distractions in life? When we feel out of whack. We feel like we're not emotionally okay right now. So I start running to things. Breathing brings me back to regulating my nervous system, creating space to process my emotions and not running away from them, which most people do.
If there's a person out there right now that's hearing this and they want to get started with breathing properly, breathing consciously, I know I have a series that I'm teaching now, but practically speaking, what would you say for a person to start with?
So I think I sort of gave it away with what I believe the the respiratory system is about. It's about having a relationship to your own breath. And so what you're going to have to do is, just like with anything, you're going to have to find your position that works for you. It's like when you play basketball, there's, let's say, 5 different positions. And you have to find which position suits you best. So you're playing a different role. You're all playing the same game. We're all doing the same thing, but everyone's got a different spot and way of manifesting it. So, I have things for myself, what I do. Like, for example, and I've been teaching my kids lately, is one of the things that is really important when you're having a relationship with your breath is you also have to know that certain parts, like we could breathe from our mouth, we could breathe from our nose, and they both do different things. They both function in 2 different ways. So mouth, generally the rule is that we eat through our mouths and we breathe through our noses. And the reason that is because when we're breathing, there's most of the atmosphere, most of the air that we breathe, we're breathing in nitrogen. There's only about 21% is oxygen. And so we want to be able to capture that oxygen, because the oxygen is actually what feeds the cells of our body. That's what our blood transfers. We need healthy oxygen. We need oxygenation. If there's a part of your body that doesn't have oxygen, it will die. So we need the proper transfer of oxygen throughout the body. It shows you that breath is actually, at a cellular level, is very important. So I need to be breathing more, because I need to be giving my whole body energy to live. And what helps me, for example, when do I lose my breath? And we're talking about the idea of Mitzrayim, is when does your breath get short? Usually when you get stressed. So I want to have tools that when I get stressed, I can de-stress in any moment. So let's say, for example, I'm with my kids and they're triggering me, because they do. I got 3 boys in a row, one, two, three, and they're fighting for attention, or they're fighting for no reason. They're just being boys, just like I was with my 2 brothers, did the exact same thing. But now you get to see it, and you see how your parents showed up, and you sort of have an appreciation of what's going on over here. So my boys are triggering me. I want to be able to, because the most important thing that I believe for kids is that they see how you can face situations, because you're teaching them how to face their situations. So when my kids are triggering me, I want to be able to calm myself down in a moment. And the way I'm going to calm myself down is, and I'm teaching my kids as well, is that you cover your right nostril and you breathe through your left, close your mouth, and you just go. And after 5 breaths, you could try right now, all of a sudden you feel comfortable, you feel calm. Trigger didn't go away, but the breath, what the left nostril does is it's called rest and digest. So I breathe through my left nostril and I go to a resting place. That's actually the breath you want to do before you go to bed as well. Keeps you relaxed. Calms the animal, the one inside that wants to like go crazy and yell at your kids and what it brings you back into a calm, relaxed place. And so that's one thing that I
Di
do.
digest on the metaphor side, or digest rest and digest, meaning it's also good for digestion.
It's also good for digestion. Your body needs to be relaxed for digestion.
What's
Um,
the right side? What's the right nostril?
the right is energy. It's like if I go, you can feel that there's energy. I'm pumping up for something. And another breath that you can couple with the one through your nostril if you want to relax is I think we've spoken about this before, but the one of the most calming breaths that you have, and I know people don't want to talk about it, but it's the easiest way because we all understand it, is when you got to go to the bathroom, like you really got to go. And let's say you're driving in the car and you just got to go as soon as you get to that rest stop and you find a bathroom or whatever place you find to do your business. That breath after you release is
Uh,
that sigh of relief. That sigh of relief is from a physiological perspective, it's a reaction to me letting go of excrement, waste, things I don't need in my life anymore, things that don't belong. Part of letting go is learning how to exhale in life. Like the people that are the calmest are the ones that actually sigh the most.
Reb
You make
Nachman
that,
talks about this a lot. He says that, right, the lengthening of the nose, the lengthening erech hapayim, that's the patience of Hashem, right? That when you take a long breath down here, so to say, Hashem takes a long breath up there, right? That you make space for this exhale of, like you said, I'm getting rid of dinim. I'm getting rid of all of the judgments, all of the excess things that I have in my life that I don't need, places that judgment could take a hold. I'm just exhaling it out and lengthening my breath. And when I lengthen down here, then I have erech apayim aroused up above as well. The
yeah,
sigh is amazing.
yeah.
This is, breath is Baruch Hashem. We're so lucky
Nice,
to
I
be
love
able to
that.
talk about these things.
So,
Um,
so on that, just to finish that point is also because I think there's so that if you're walking away with 3 things, I'm going to give you 3 things. Number one is the left is going to be for calming down. The sigh is the idea of letting go. Because on the inhale, what we're focused on, the meditation that we focus on the inhale is what am I taking in this moment?